Hi, it's Dawn here from the International College of Energy Healing, and welcome to my channel. For those of you that don't know me, this channel is all about how to grow and develop your intuition, your psychic skills, your medium ability. It really is about empowerment. You know, I believe that we're all psychic, we're all naturally gifted, and for a variety of reasons, we, either turn that down or switch it to off. We're not paying attention to it anymore. So a lot of the work that I do is working with groups and one-on-one with people to really help them to lean into their psychic skills, their intuition, so that they can navigate life a little bit more easily. So this is a perfect platform to get that empowerment, that development out there to a wider audience. So thank you for joining me in this endeavor. Today's video, I'm going to be focusing on paranormal activity. So I am a paranormal investigator. I've been doing this for over 20 years. I've helped countless people to feel more comfortable in their home or their place of work. And I think this video is really important because I think there's just so many people out there that are having activity or experiencing things that they can't explain and living in fear and not knowing who to go to or where to turn. So if this sounds like you, this is exactly the video that you need. And if you know somebody, if this isn't you and you know somebody who is experiencing the same, tell them to come and swing by and check this video out. I think it's going to be an important video for them too. Well, I'm going to share with you what I've learned over my 20 years experience of working with individuals and families who are experiencing paranormal activity. Now, these are based on my experiences. I think there's so many different opinions and different thoughts in the world, particularly around the world of the paranormal. So these come from, my years of experience. These come from my beliefs. They may not be the same as yours, and that's okay. We're allowed to hold different beliefs. But if what I'm saying resonates, then, take it on board. If not, move on and find your own truths in all of this. So this video is all about helping and supporting anybody who is experiencing paranormal activity. So let's get started. So the first thing I want to tell you is you're not alone. Paranormal activity can be incredibly isolating for those that are experiencing it. You might think that you're alone in all of this, that this is only happening to you, but from my experience, there are far more people out there that are experiencing similar things to you. So you are absolutely not alone. I think the reticence for people to share what's happening to them comes from a fear of being judged, a fear of being labelled a kook or mad or making it up or all of those things. And so, we keep these occurrences to ourselves, and that's what isolates us. So we live in fear, or we're working in fear, and we feel that we've got no one to share it with. So that's why, number one, I want to tell you, you are not alone. And there are more people out there that will believe you than disbelieve you. So don't feel like you can't share what's happening to you. It's really, really important. Very often when people reach out to me to help them, I'm probably the first person that they've told about this outside of their immediate family. It's almost like they're living with a dirty secret. And so it's really important to know that actually there are more people experiencing these things than you would ever imagine. And there is a community out there to help and support you. The next important thing that I want to tell you is that you're not going mad. You're not imagining these things. These things are happening, whether they're paranormal or not remains to be seen, but you are experiencing something. So it's important to validate that these experiences are real for you. Again, that's one of the first things that I like to do with clients, is to let them know that, what is happening for them. And so our job moving forwards is to try and work out what is paranormal, what isn't paranormal, kind of what's going on, so that we can deal with it and hopefully resolve it. So the next thing I want to say is fear is not your friend. I get it. Those experiences that you're having are frightening. And very often they happen late at night when you're, in your bedroom, where this is supposed to be your safe place, and you're seeing things, or you're hearing things, or, you're sensing, presence in your room. So I get it. It's frightening when something happens that you can't explain, that you can't see who's creating that activity. It is incredibly frightening. Having said that, that fear feeds the activity. I can't tell you how many times going into a location, whether that's a home or somebody's business, that where activity has really ramped up, it's at its peak, things are moving, they're hearing things, they're seeing shadows and all of those really terrifying things. And as soon as I reduce the fear level with the individuals living with that, the activity decreases in a similar rate. Fear definitely feeds the activity. And I know me saying that and you getting to the point where you're not afraid is a really big journey. It's a big leap for you to take. So please just trust me. And know that if you can stop being afraid, it's going to have a huge impact on the activity and bringing that down. The next thing I want to say is that it's not all demonic. I know we see lots of television programs out there. There are lots of people that hold that belief in demons and in demonic activity, and that's what's driving the paranormal activity. But in my experience, over 20 years, probably closer to 25 years, hauntings are not necessarily negative. I can count on the fingers of one hand how many times paranormal activity that's happening for somebody is more negative. We often misconstrue activity to being negative. Something's out to get me. They're out to frighten me. Therefore, it must be, a negative energy or a negative spirit or a demonic spirit. And in my experience, guys, that is not the reality. For the most part, these are spirits that just want to let you know that they're there, that they can, see you, hear you, feel you, and they want that interaction. Now, some of them might be getting frustrated, and that's what's kind of amping up the activity, and we misconstrue that as they're getting angry and they're throwing a pot, and therefore they're out to get me. And honestly, guys, that is not my experience of paranormal activity. Having said that, there are a small number, I could probably count on one hand the number of cases that have been more on the negative side, but the vast majority of them are not. So, if you think about the percentages, it's likely that whatever's happening for you is not negative, it's not demonic, it's not out to get you, and it's not out to harm you. So let me deal with scratches. So lots of people experience scratches, and again, they connect that to demonic. We see that in lots of paranormal TV shows, 3 scratches equals a demon. That is not my experience either. So for me, scratches come from a buildup of energy. So, psychic energy that has built up and built up and built up. So much so that when it is released, it creates a physical manifestation on the skin. So, if you're waking up with scratches, if you've experienced scratches in a haunted location or in your home or your place of work, please, please, please don't worry. So just know that it's not necessarily negative, evil entities trying to harm you. It's a very, very natural phenomena with energy. I said earlier that some of the work that I do when I'm working with a client who's having paranormal activity is to try and sift through what is paranormal and what isn't paranormal. Because what I've found is, when an event happens, it's probably the first thing that happens that makes you notice that there's something going on. So it might have been, something moving, or it might have been kind of, a shadow out the corner of your eye, and you're like, oh, that's odd, that's a little bit different. And so we become very hypersensitive to everything that happens. And when we're in that state of hypersensitivity, we can hone in on things that are happening that might have been happening for many years in your home or your place of work that aren't paranormal. They're just natural building noises, or it's something that is just naturally occurring that we just haven't even noticed. And it's now in our state of hypersensitivity that we then, lump that into paranormal activity. So I would ask you to really kind of critically look at what's happening and say, is there another reason why this could be the case? And to try and sift through for yourself, and what is the paranormal activity, and what is just noise and other things that are happening in where you live or your place of work. So let's recap what we've talked about. First off, you're not alone. Second, you're not going mad. Third, fear is not your friend. Fourth, just because you've got scratched doesn't mean to say that it's a negative entity. And 5, not everything is paranormal. Now I want to talk about why things seem to happen at night. I have lots of clients that come to me because they're experiencing things when they're in bed, or they're half asleep, or they're trying to go to sleep, or they're woken up in the middle of the night, and it's absolutely terrifying for them. What happens when we're sleeping or when we're getting ready for bed, our brainwave state shifts. So through the day we're busy, we're connected to lots of different things. Our brainwave state is one of action and activity, and so we're not necessarily in that state of being that's going to allow us to perceive non-physical energy. But at night, when we're relaxed, when we're kind of winding down, when we're going into a different brainwave state, a different vibration, we become very open to that non-physical energy. So we can perceive the attempts at spirit to make themselves known. So it's not that they're waiting for you for when the night comes so that they can scare you. It's just we're more open and able to receive the information coming in. That doesn't mean to say that it's not frightening. And I'm going to ask you, if this is happening to you, I'm going to ask you to set some boundaries. I have those boundaries in my own bedroom. I don't want to be woken by spirits when I'm trying to sleep. I don't want them to be wandering around my room just because it's easier for me to perceive them. So I have a clear boundary. This is a no-go area for spirit. And I politely reset those boundaries if spirit do enter into that no-go zone. And for the most part, spirits are happy to comply. What I do say to them is, come back and talk to me when I'm awake. Come back and talk to me tomorrow in the daylight where I'm not going to be afraid. And what I found is that spirits are very compliant. They don't want to frighten you. They don't want to scare you. Now, some of them are a little bit more insistent. They have something important to say. So they're going to be a little bit more reluctant to leave the space. But just be firm with your boundaries, guys. Just say, no, this is not the time. I promise you that I will talk to you tomorrow. I will make some contact with you tomorrow and follow up on that. Do what you've promised and try and help to resolve what it is that that spirit wants to tell you or talk to you about. So now we're on the topic of boundaries, and that's one of the most important things that I can do to help a client. I can help them to reset the boundaries of their home. When you're living or working in a location that has paranormal activity, that has an active spirit there, we can feel kind of at their mercy. They can interact with us at any time, and they can make us step back and feel afraid. Nobody can make us do that. We choose to be that way. So one of the most important things that I do with clients is I say, take back your space. This is yours. You're in the physical world. Spirit, this is not their world. So take back your space, take back ownership. Do it from a very heart-centered space, do it from a place of love, but really reclaim the space that you're living or working in. It's incredibly empowering for a client to do that, and their kind of fear and their smallness just falls away. They become very present in their home or their place of work again. Another thing that I have to do to sift through what might be going on in a location is to work out whether that the spirit is active, whether they're cognizant of the environment and the people that are living or working there, whether there's an intelligence behind that, whether there's there's an interaction that happens, or is it more of a memory? Is it more of a recording that's being replayed? And so in the paranormal world, we call it, residual. If it's just this kind of memory, and that memory could be something visual. So you could see a spirit, you might hear voices, you might smell an odor, but there's no active spirit behind that. It's just a recording. It's just playing itself out in the environment. And yes, it's frightening, but there's no intelligence behind that. It's like you're watching a video, or you're smelling a scent in the air. So nothing to be worried or afraid of. So if there is a spirit that is active in the location, then there's this interaction. So they're aware of you in your physical space, and they may have a message that they want to get across. It might just be, hey, I'm here and I used to live here, or this was an important place to me. It doesn't necessarily have to be anything more compelling than that. But there is this intelligence, there is an interaction. And in some ways, it's easier to deal with a location that does have an active spirit there, because there's a conversation that you can have. You can set those boundaries. You can help the spirit if they have something that's really important to them to share. So there's things that we can do about that. If it's a residual, well, they're just going to play themselves out. You have no control over that. The only control you have is how you react to that. So there's nothing scary, there's nothing heinous or demonic going on. So you can be comfortable in your space again. One of the most important things that you can do if you are living or working in a location that has paranormal activity is to focus on love. Love is, well, it just conquers all. The energy is just so all-encompassing that the more that you can come from a place of love, the more that you can sit in this energy of love, the more that the activity is going to lessen. And, I have used that strategy time and time again. And I remember, it was many years ago now, but I was visited by a spirit who, well, I called him Jack the Ripper. Not that I think he was Jack the Ripper, but he certainly did things that were Jack the Ripper-esque. And he would show me those things. And it was very, very disconcerting. The first time that he entered my space, it frightened me. But that was the result he wanted. He fed on that fear. He had no intention of going to the light. He had no intention of reforming who he was. He really enjoyed the interaction that made people fearful. So, he kind of globbed onto me, and he was around for a number of days, until I really got fed up of him just appearing and startling me. So every time that he came to me, I would just sit and hold him in a space of this love. So I wouldn't react to anything that he showed me. I wouldn't react to anything that he did. I just emanated from my heart space love. This love going to him, holding him in that energy. And it was very uncomfortable for him. That wasn't a place that he enjoyed. He got a little bit bored because I wasn't reacting in the way that he wanted me to react. And he just disappeared out of my field of vision. I didn't feel him around. He was gone. And so I literally loved him out of my location. So I do think that that's an important message for everybody that is dealing with something like this, is just to come from that place of love. It conquers all. It is the highest and the brightest, and nothing can exist in that energy that's of a darker or more negative nature. So always come from that loving space. So for some clients, we need to find a way in which they can coexist with the spirits there. And I talked a little earlier about boundaries and setting boundaries and claiming your space. But not just space claiming. It can be, setting behavior boundaries as well. So, you don't appear of a night. You don't come into my bedroom. You don't scare the kids. You don't interact with the kids at all. You can only show yourself during the day. Whatever those rules are, set them. It's really, really important. You need to find a way in which you can coexist with the spirit in a way that allows you to feel comfortable in your own home again. Lots of people who are experiencing paranormal activity try and enter into a communication with them, try and find out what it is that, they're after, who it is, and we'll do an EVP session, so electronic voice phenomena. That's where they take a recorder or your phone, ask some questions, see if the spirit has answered them. You may not have heard it at the time with your ears, but there's voices on the recording, and that's a great way of trying to understand who's there. What I would say though is I've encountered clients that have done that, and actually the whole process has terrified them more, because there is, physical, tangible evidence there that spirits are communicating, and they've also, potentially misconstrued what the messages were that have been left on the recording device. So, I would say, great, do EVP sessions if you feel comfortable, but just be aware that, if you do get something, it might make you feel more nervous and more uncomfortable in your home. Now, if you are going to do EVP sessions, I would always say that we want to create a white light of protection around us. We also want to make sure that we're not in that place of fear. Any spirit communication that comes from that place of fear has the potential to attract things that you don't want to attract. So don't do it when, you're feeling a little bit vulnerable and fearful. Maybe not in the middle of the night with the lights off. Do it in, during the day when the sun's out, everything feels all all normal, and always come from that place of love. Sometimes EVP sessions can really help a client because the messages that come through are of a more loving, benign nature. So it kind of takes that fear factor out. But I know it's something that you've got to do with some thoughtfulness. And if you are a little bit nervous, don't do an EVP session in your home. Now, lots of people do advise anybody that's living with paranormal activity to do a house cleansing. And, yes, it's a lovely thing to do, but I have seen house cleansings actually increase the activity. And here's what I think is happening. When we come to doing a house cleansing because there's paranormal activity, our intention is to rid us of that, dark, negative energy that's happening. And, when you come at it from that perspective, it can really irritate or frustrate or hurt or anger the spirit that's really just trying to make themselves known to you. So if you are going to do a house cleansing, traditionally lots of people use sage to do that. And, there is a lot of, indigenous ways of being and knowing that use sage. I use some different smudging herbs. That comes from my Celtic roots and traditions. But if you are going to do a house cleansing, I want you to think about what your intention is. So, is your intention to, banish the spirit out of the space? Or is it just an intention to clear the space of anything that doesn't serve whoever, whether they're physical or non-physical, in there? And maybe the intention is to help whatever is in there to make a transition, so that the smoke is allowing them almost to use the momentum of the energy to get them to that the space, the non-physical space where they need to be, the other side, if that's the language that you use. So intention is really, really important in this. If you come at it from this place of, ridding the space, and, when you're sitting in that place of fear as you're doing it, that may not serve you. So always come from that place of love. Be clear about your intention, and do think about the spirit's needs and wants and all of that as well. And the reason why I say that is because spirits were physical beings. They were human. They were people like you and me, and they deserve respect. So why do we have spirit activity? That question is one that's been asked for hundreds of years, and again is one that we probably all have our different beliefs and experiences of. So I'll give you my perspective. So I think there are a number of reasons why spirits still inhabit the physical plane. So for some spirits, there is something really, really important that they're trying to say that's stopping them from making that full and complete transition. It might be the nature of how they passed. It might be something that is, important for them to tell you, that, a family member maybe there's something that they need to tell you. Maybe they're so connected by love, they just need to really make themselves known to you. Some spirits don't know that they've passed on, so they're still kind of, interacting in a way that's normal for them, and they haven't realized that they've made that transition. But in my experience, I think they realize it on one level, but not on a conscious level. And so it's almost like for some spirits, they're still focused on the physical world. They haven't kind of turned towards the non-physical world and made that transition fully across. So you can, if you feel comfortable, have that conversation. You can sit down and, in the day when everything's all normal, put some protection around yourself and just invite them to have a conversation with you. Let them, let them tell you, share their story with you. Sometimes even just acknowledging that the spirit is there is enough to allow them to release their hold on the physical, and they make that transition into non-physical. Always come from that place of love. Hold them in that energy. Allow them to feel the love and compassion that you have for them. And again, that might help them just to make that transition. Encourage them, tell them that, the physical world is not where they need to be, and that, there's a beautiful place and space for them if they just step back from this physical world. So you can have that conversation with them, but only if you feel comfortable and confident to do so. So for some clients, they need help. And so that's where they call in people to help to resolve and deal with the issues. Sometimes it's a medium that a client will connect with. Sometimes it's a paranormal team. Very often paranormal teams have mediums as well as part of the crew. What I would say is, if you are going to be reaching out to a third party to come in and to help you with what's going on, do your research. Really look into the credibility of the people. If you can ask for some references, good paranormal teams that have worked with clients and have worked with clients successfully, they'll have references that they're able to share with you. The same with mediums as well. Though they will have people that they've helped that will be able to kind of share their experiences with you. Remember, you're inviting strangers into your home, and you've got to feel confident and comfortable that what they do and what they're going to do is right and appropriate for you. There will be so many teams, paranormal teams, that you can connect with. It's certainly something that has exploded in the 20 years that I've been doing this work. So a quick Google search will definitely throw up lots of teams, and they'll all have different approaches. So ask questions like, what do you do on an investigation? How do you investigate? What are your beliefs? How do they play into the investigation? What equipment do you use? Are you going to be sharing the evidence with me? Do you do spirit clearing? All of those questions, so that you really understand what services that paranormal team or that medium are going to do for you. The other thing that I would say is that don't get sucked into paying vast amounts of money for this service. The majority of paranormal teams that I know do this for free. That's certainly how I work, whether I'm going in as an individual medium to do the work or whether I'm bringing my team in. We do it at no cost. This is a service to the community, in my opinion. And I think it's really important that, finances don't get in the way of that. Now, some mediums might charge a fee for their time, and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. What I'm saying is, I have heard horror stories out there of people being charged hundreds and thousands of dollars or pounds or lira or whatever your currency is, to have somebody come in. And I don't think you need to pay that level of money. So there are so many people out there that are credible, that will support and help you at no cost. So you shouldn't have to worry about that, but always ask. There are questions that you need to ask before you invite people into your home to do this work with you. So the last thing I want to talk about is, how do you protect yourself? How do you protect your home? And I don't want to do this from a place of fear, but there are some things that I do that really, really help. So I am a crystal lover. I have a shop full of crystals. Crystals are a big part of who I am. And so I will always bring crystals into the equation as I'm talking about protection, either space or physical. So my ultimate favorite is black tourmaline. I think that is an incredibly powerful protection crystal, and you can have it on your person, so that it kind of helps to create that kind of boundary, energy boundary around you. Or you can have it in your home. In fact, what I have done is I have created a warding around my property where I've buried black tourmaline and I've connected it energetically. So I almost have like this shield around my property, so that there isn't so much, it's not foolproof, but there isn't so much kind of coming and going of spirits. When you're a medium, you get bombarded with lots of spirits, so it does kind of create a little bit of more of a boundary for me. I also have black obsidian at my doorway, and what that does is it anybody that enters in, it kind of just removes anything negative that they're carrying with them, and it allows them to walk into my space without that. So I have a piece of obsidian at my doorway specifically for that. I've got it in the shop as well. So definitely crystals. Amethyst is a really nice crystal to use as well. Shungite you can use for psychic protection, for energy protection. Tiger's eye is another one. There's a whole list of them, and I am going to do a future video all about psychic protection and what you can do to kind of keep yourself protected, particularly if you are an empath, if you do have some kind of medium abilities. I think it's really, really important that you find ways in which you can manage all of that. So that's going to be a future video, but there's just kind of a few tips, a few crystals you can use just to keep yourself safe in the meantime. So I am a paranormal researcher. I've been doing this work for more than 20 years, probably around 25 years. So I've seen a lot of things and I've experienced lots of things, and I use that experience in the work that I do moving forwards. So I'm happy to share some of those kind of tips and tricks that perhaps you can use as you're experiencing paranormal activity in your home or your workspace. So I got into paranormal investigating as as a medium, as a developing medium. About 30 years ago, my mediumship opened up for me. I think that's a video for another day, but I ended up in lots of different, psychic development circles and, kind of mediumship circles, and found myself in the world of paranormal, going into people's homes and trying to help them resolve their issues. And this is how I choose to express my mediumship. I'm not a medium that will, do a platform reading or do a one-to-one to bring in your father who passed over, or your mother, or that's not the medium that I am. It's not the mediumship that I enjoy doing, but I like to apply my mediumship to the world of paranormal. So exclusively, I investigate locations, and I work with clients who are experiencing paranormal activity in their home or their place of business. I've helped hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. So my desire is that this video helps you if you are somebody who's experiencing that paranormal activity. So they're my top tips based on my experience. Yours might look different, and that's okay. As I said earlier, you might have a difference of opinion. That's fine. You might hold a different belief. That's fine as well. You might have different experiences. I can only come at this from my experiences and what I've come to learn and know and understand from the work that I've been doing for more than 20 years. So if this resonates for you, then please take it forwards. If it doesn't, then that's okay too. I hope it's been helpful for you. If you have any questions, please do just comment below, or I'll pop my email address on there in the description below as well, so that you can, if you do have a specific question, reach out. And remember, you are not alone. Remember, you are not going mad. And remember that fear is not your friend.